Hello everybody, my name is Ian Kirkpatrick. I'm an author, idiot, and loin streamer, and today I've got a couple of topics I'd like to talk to you about regarding traditional publishing and indie publishing and some of the complications that are coming up. I'll do a video a little bit later on with some personal opinions on indie versus trad and some of the decorum that some have when talking about indie and self-publishing, on some of my thoughts on that. But this is just going to be a couple of news stories about things that are happening in publishing that I think are worthy of people knowing what's going on, and I would love to get your thoughts on what's going on. But before we get started in the news stories, number one, if you enjoy what I do on this channel, please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Number two, if you would like to be featured on the channel, check out the links down in the description below. There are two different ways to be featured. Number one is through Lemoy, which is the monthly prompt writing contest where I give you a prompt. You respond to the prompt, and the first Monday video of the month is the Festival of Y'all's Creativity. The second way to be featured is through the Fresh Meat feature, where if you are an indie author and you've got a book out there that you would like to spread the word of, send in your first chapter and your cover, and they will be featured here on the channel. I feel like, considering today's topics, number one, I specifically need to say no AI art on the covers. If I know that it's AI art, you're not getting featured. And no AI written stuff either. This is for authors. This is for writers, not for people trying to make a bunch of money and scamming the system and using garbage methods to create product. Yes, I'm judging you very hard. And then the third thing is, if you would like to check out any of my works, you can get them at any of your favorite book places, including the library upon request, if you would be so kind. I hope you check them out, enjoy yourself, have a good time. So with that said, let's jump into the stories of the day. And I'm a little bit later than I wanted to be because I wanted to do these last Saturday, but I was too busy with life because February has been a disaster. And so we're doing them now instead. The first story is Roald Dahl's books have been rewritten to remove language deemed offensive. Augustus Gloop now enormous instead of fat. Miss Twit no longer ugly. And the Oompa Loompas are gender neutral. Is it? Are you not allowed to notate that people are ugly now? And how is enormous better than fat? I feel like enormous kind of implies they're bigger. But according to The Guardian, Roald Dahl's children's books are being rewritten to remove language deemed offensive by the publisher Puffin. Puffin, shame on you for changing the author's words, especially if you keep his name on the cover when you've basically done a rewrite. Like, screw you. Puffin has hired sensitivity readers, what a joke of a job, to rewrite chunks of the author's text to make sure the books continue to be enjoyed by all today. They're not going to be enjoyed by all today because you're ruining them for the people that enjoyed them already. If you don't like the author saying fat, and I'm gonna straight up say it, I'm an author that referred to somebody who is very large walking down a hallway as waddling because she was large enough that her hips swayed and she knocked over a suit of armor, and that's why the suit of armor is bolted to the ground. Yes, I did that. If you can't handle stuff like that, then you didn't like the author in the first place. This is one of the things that I have against traditional publishing in general, and why I stopped pursuing traditional publishing or agents, because it feels like agents have stopped looking for the craft and stopped looking for authors whose voice they like, whose visions they like, and then to help polish them up to make them better and take them to the next level. Instead, it turns into you have to perform a certain way, you have to be a certain way, think a certain way, use certain words, only use certain ideas, and only then can you be pushed forward. And it's not just in writing. You see this a lot in the political circle, or you see this a lot in areas where they say, have these certain politics, have these certain ideas. One of the things, like with the sensitivity readers, with the identity politics, it's you have to hold these certain ideas or be this certain way or have this certain way of doing things. And as soon as you maybe slightly go off of that, they attack you for it. And it's one of the reasons that I couldn't get comfortable in trying to get traditionally published or talk to agents, because I didn't want to have to present who I was as a person, my background, like my medical history, my background history, my sexual history. I didn't want to have to introduce myself with that stuff in order to get anywhere, and then have to stick to some stringent, this is how you have to act now. You're not allowed to use ugly. You're not allowed to make this woman so fat that her hips sway and she knocked over a suit of armor. Like, you're not allowed to do these things. And these ideas exist. You don't have to like them. But if somebody is going, you are an author, this is getting back to my original point before the tangent started. Sorry about that. But if an author goes, this is my idea, and an agent or editor goes, I like that idea, but also let's change it so it's completely different from where it started, then they didn't like your idea. They didn't like you. They just want to use you instead of presenting your idea. Instead of helping you reach people with your story. It is no longer your story. And I've seen this also, this kind of question pop up in the writing community on Twitter, where it's like, would you change your character to be this thing if a publisher said that they would publish your book? And I think I mentioned, I did a small tweet thread a couple weeks ago about something like this. Is if a publisher came to you and said, I would give you $2 million for your current identity project. And that is, by identity project, I mean a project that means a lot to you. It's something that you've developed. It's something that you really, really care about. It's got an idea in it that you really, really care about. And if a publisher came to you and said, hey, I would like to buy this idea from you, you will lose all of your rights. You no longer have that thing, but you get $2 million, and I'm going to change it so that it not only does not say the message that you want it to say, but it does the opposite of the messaging that you want it to have. So if your message is about love and family, then they want to take that and switch it over so that the message is against family and is against love, and it's about hatred and destruction, and it destroys these characters that are a part of you. Would you take that $2 million? They're not purchasing that idea from you because they like your idea, your point of view, your message. They just see a vehicle to put their propaganda in, and it's disgusting. And it's why I don't play this game. I refuse to play this game. It's people with no talent that are taking things from other people and putting their fingerprints all over it to pretend that they're important when they have no skills. Because that is what this is. Yes, I am pissed. This is a violation of the artist, of the artist perspective, of the artist's duty, of the artist's drive. I can't stand this shit. Continuing with the article, edits have been made to the descriptions of characters' physical appearance. The word fat has been cut from every new edition of relevant books, while the word ugly has been culled, the Telegraph reported. Augustus Gloop and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is now described as enormous. In the Twits, Mrs. Twit is no longer ugly and beastly, but just beastly. I mean, maybe you should just change your name from Twit, because her name being Twit is kind of a slam on the kind of person that she is. And isn't that mean? Isn't the idea of her name being Mrs. Twit just meaner than actually calling her ugly? Why is it wrong to have stated ugly characters? I know that there is this whole movement too of don't make your villains ugly, don't give your villains deformities, whatever. You can do whatever. There are good people with deformities, there are bad people with deformities. You don't get to choose that only good people have deformities now. Yeah, you're a bad person for this kind of censorship. Hundreds of changes were made to the original text, and some passages not written by Dahl have been added. Do not put his name on it then. Fucking call it a translation or something. You're rewriting who this person is. I don't care how you feel about Roald Dahl. You're rewriting who this person is and what his thoughts are and the intent of the author. And it's sickening. But the Roald Dahl Story Company said it's not unusual to review the language during the new print run, and any changes were small and carefully considered. No, I don't agree. In The Witches, a paragraph explaining that witches are bald beneath their wigs ends with the new line, there are plenty of other reasons why women might wear wigs, and there is certainly nothing wrong with that. Stop coddling people. We don't need it. If you are this sensitive when you're reading, you need therapy. In previous editions of James and the Giant Peach, the centipede sings, Aunt Sponge was terrifically fat, and tremendously flabby at that, and Aunt Spiker was thin as a wire and dry as a bone, only drier. Both verses have been removed, and in their place are the rhymes, Aunt Sponge was nasty old brute and deserves to be squashed by the fruit, and Aunt Spiker was much of the same and deserves half of the blame. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, this isn't a big deal. You're totally changing characterization. You don't have to like it, but you are changing characterization. Don't pretend that what you're doing is no small feat that doesn't matter. References to female characters have disappeared. Miss Trunchbull in Matilda, once a most formidable female, is now a most formidable woman. Why? Why did you feel the need to do that? Gender-neutral terms have been added in place where Charlie and the Chocolate Factory Oompa Loompas were small men. They are now small people. The Cloud Men in James and the Giant Peach have been cloud people. Stop it. Puffin and the Roald Dahl Story Company made the changes in conjunction with Inclusive Mind, which is a spokesperson described as a collective. I feel like with a spokesman, I feel like I have to do that just to be sassy. Which is a spokesman described as a collective for people who are passionate about inclusion and accessibility in children's literature. Yeah, I'm gonna call you a spokesman because I know it's gonna piss you off. Alexandra Stick, the co-founder of Inclusive Minds, said she aims to ensure authentic representation by working closely with the book world and with those who have lived experiences of any facet of diversity. So are you going to come and contact me for my lived experiences and my facet of diversity? Because you have no idea what my diversity is, bruh. You don't know what my background is, but I know that you aren't representing my life. That's for sure, because I've never seen my life represented in any of these children's literatures. A notice from the publisher sits at the bottom of the copyright page of the latest edition of Dahl's books. The wonderful words of Roald Dahl can transport you to a different world and introduce you to the most marvelous characters. This book was written many years ago, and so we regularly review the language to ensure that it continues to be enjoyed by all today. The spokesman for the Roald Dahl Story Company said when publishing new print runs of books written years ago, it's not unusual to review the language used alongside updating other details to include the book's cover and page layout. Our guiding principle throughout has been to maintain the storylines, characters, and the irreverence and sharp-edged spirit of the original text. Any change that has been small and considered, but the stuff that you already showed in here, and you said there were hundreds of changes. The stuff that was shown in here was not minute, and it changed authorial intent. It changed the character voice. And if this is such a little tiny deal, then how come there is an article being written about this, but there's not an article being written every single time that text is changed? Something is going on here. It's nefarious, and you're gaslighting people. You're not fooling me. And I'm not playing this game. Also, other people don't want what you're doing. So following the Guardian's thing about the changes, the Sydney Morning Herald from Australia says Roald Dahl books rushed to top of Australian bestsellers list ahead of the edits. The announcement of changes in the language used to Roald Dahl has sent sales of his children's books soaring after Australians rushed to buy copies before the revised editions are released. A 16 books box set has risen to number 2 on Amazon's Australia bestseller list by Thursday. Publisher Penguin Random House says it will publish classic versions of Dahl's children's books after it's received criticism over cuts and rewrites that were intended to make the book suitable for modern readers. If they have they not learned anything from the responses people have to for modern audience versions of movies where people are like, fuck this shit? Because nobody wants it. So a couple of things. Number one, this is likely going to be turned into a new marketing scheme because every time there's a way that people see, oh, sales, it becomes a new marketing scheme. Like, oh, too hot for Amazon. Oh, banned book. So it's going to become a new marketing scheme. But two, this shows that publishers are not thinking of audiences. They're doing something else and using audiences as their scapegoat for why they're doing it. But when audiences catch wind of what they're doing, overwhelmingly people reject it. So what are the publishers doing? They're not listening to their readership. They're not listening to the people that want to buy the books in order for what they're choosing to sell or choosing to update or choosing to waste their time on. So what are publishers doing? How are publishers choosing what to publish, what to edit, what to change? Because they're not listening to the market, that's for sure. So think for yourself. What is it that they are responding to? Who is it that they are serving if the population overwhelmingly rejects what it is that they are doing? Why are they spending this much money on this? I would love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Blue Point Bookshop owner Helen Baxter said that she had reordered copies, anticipating a rush for unrevised versions. I am having people start to ask, and I've just reordered a bulk of the older editions, she said, having ordered 12 copies of his bestsellers. We're a very small shop, but I would try to carry the previous version for as long as we can. The small independent bookstore in Sydney's freaking Manaya is going to kill me. In Sydney's McMahon's Point has been running for 28 years and is known locally for catering to children. It includes an area where children can sit on the floor or couch and read. Baxter was dismayed at the announced revisions, but didn't believe that they would affect her bottom line. She sells a few hundred copies of Roald Dahl's books a year, but those sales are dwarfed by Australian authors. People don't want this. Overwhelmingly, people don't want this. So what are they doing? That is one of the problems plaguing traditional publishing right now, is that traditional publishers are not serving what people want. They're serving personal pet projects for some reason. They're hiring a bunch of useless job people to rewrite stories that nobody asked for a rewrite on, and they're only publishing or focusing on big money sellers like Stephen King, the brands, and pet projects. And the brands are carrying, the legacy brands are carrying the pet projects. While talking about publishers, I did want to talk about this article I saw a while ago called The Cult of Publishing, and the personality from an insider about what it's like to work in publishing. So the bookseller says, ask any junior employee what they think is wrong with publishing, and you'll get a host of answers. Publishing is slow to change. Publishing doesn't want to change. Publishing doesn't pay well enough. There aren't enough jobs at the top for people to progress in their careers the way that they want to. It's racist, classist, sexist. The same kinds of books are written and published by the same kinds of people. I'm one of those junior employees, and I can wax lyrical about all of those answers if you'd like, but I think that there is one thing that's wrong with publishing that we don't often talk about. I think publishing operates as a kind of cult, which is often probably why you see it move in lockstep with everybody else, and it's always publishing the same things. Over the 5 years of working in publishing, I have come to realize that the thing that publishing demands most of all of those who have deigned to have careers in it is that we give our all to it. It is our thing, the only thing, and nothing else can come before it. This is where all that unpaid overtime comes from, all of the readings of submissions outside of work hours, all the editing in their spare time that editors and agents are forced to do because their work days are filled with endless meetings, all the work that assistants do when they get home because they haven't been able to send a single email in their actual hours, all of the events outside of the workday, the festivals that publicists are required to travel hours for. Here's where it turns cult-like. I have heard over the years countless people talk about working overtime with glee, with smugness, with ego. It is a huge achievement for them to have worked well into the middle of the night and still come to work at 7 in the morning the next day, to have surrendered a weekend to work, to stay in the office so late the lights turn off, it becomes a badge of honor, and suddenly it's a competition to figure out who has devoted more of their lives to their jobs that definitely doesn't pay them well enough. Another cult-like behavior from those who work in the publishing industry is networking. Networking is a standard business practice across all industries, a requirement of the social underpinnings of human evolution for sure. Here's where it differs in publishing. People will beg for an invite to an award ceremony for books they haven't read so that they can tell people that the day of and after that they were invited. If an invite doesn't come their way, they're snubbed. Book launches are not places to celebrate authors, they are moments to see who is well-liked in the industry. Didn't get invited to a book launch of an author you don't read who's published by an editor you don't like? Take it as a slight on you, because that's what it is. I've heard people describe not being invited to any publishing events as a deeply personal attack on them. Why am I not liked? Why wasn't I there? Hell, I've even had people ask why I hadn't invited them to my own book launch despite not having a personal relationship with them. And this regularly goes beyond professional events. Two people you barely know having dinner together with you, that's about you. Some of your colleagues going out for lunch without you, it's about you. An agent you bought a book from seeing another editor, it's about you. And having talked to a couple of agents, like even smaller time agents, the relationship between author and agent is very personal. The fact that many of them only want to give you an opportunity if they decide that you are worth their personal effort, that they want to have a friendship with you, that they make their business so personal, kind of influences this too, or kind of references the same kind of perspective. I get having a personal relationship, but also it's a business relationship. So everything doesn't have to be this personal investment, or take it as a personal slight where, like, taking somebody's book on and looking for a publisher doesn't have to say anything about you or your values, or that you have to agree with everything in the book or that the author believes. You can get along with someone without agreeing with everything that they say, and you also don't have to spend all of your free time interacting with that person, or else it's a slight. This is bizarre. Nobody really demands that much attention in a healthy relationship. Then there is the gossiping, the sharing of worthless information that feels like I've been thrown back into secondary school, listening to children discuss the popular children and what they're getting up to. Did you hear? The starting so the starting to far too many conversations that I've been a part of. When I first began working in publishing, I remember vividly being mocked for not knowing who a certain author was. Classist? For sure. Slightly racist? Could be argued. But the haughtiness with which I was mocked also points to how publishing was those people's everything. It is the thing, and there is nothing else. And you see this in a lot of other places, like the politics is somebody's thing, and there is nothing else. Somebody's personal identity monikers are their thing, and there is nothing else, and it's all they can talk about. And if you don't talk about it, or if you don't engage in it, or if you don't not just support, but if you don't clap your hands and only want to talk about that with them, somehow you are against them. You are against the cult of personality of whatever this is. This even extends to people who have yet to get into publishing. You won't have to scour Twitter for too long to find young people just graduated from university who have publishing hopeful in their bios. These people follow people who work in publishing, reply to their every tweet, DM them in hopes that they might be able to get a secret that allows them into the gated halls of publishing. They go to the classes to learn about how to publish works, go to London Book Fair and hope that maybe they might meet someone who will hire them, turn up at every single book event near them so that they can touch the same hallowed space. There are other things too, the heavy implications, never actually said out loud, that those who work in publishing should be grateful to be there because there are so many other people who want our jobs. Senior employees' beliefs that because things were hard for them when they were coming up, things should be hard for us now too. The reverence we bestow on certain people in publishing, almost always editors and agents, because they are, to put it simply, just doing their jobs well. I have to confess, I haven't worked in many other industries. Maybe this is just how we as a species are, but from what I hear from my friends who do not work in publishing, this isn't the same everywhere. We are all trapped inside of this too small industry, this insular space in which we are all pressed up against each other with no space to breathe. Publishing demands to be our everything, and we let it. We forget that we are something else beyond our jobs. We forget that these are just our jobs. We have become subsumed by the monster jostling around in its stomach, fighting for something else. I admit here that I was like this too, until I decided to leave London and live in South Shields, right near the coast of northeast England. There I allowed publishing to disappear from my life. My job was just my job. It's no longer my everything, and I have since returned to London and established boundaries around my work. I also see this similar mindset in among writers, and it talked about the people following other people on Twitter, hoping to touch the hollowed walls. But I also see this sort of networking taking over in indie publishing, and people that only look at how to make a business-to-business connections, peer-to-peer connections, that the authors lift or the writers lift, where it's authors just boosting other authors, hoping to make a bunch of money by supporting each other instead of being honest. Instead of talking about the books, it's talking about sales. It's prioritizing sales. It's prioritizing business connections instead of actual connections where you can talk to one another. And it's not about grandstanding or clout chasing or being part of the inside or being part of the resistance against traditional publishing, because I've had that too. I've seen this structure trying to take over on the indie side in many different areas where people go, we have to stick together so that we can stick it to the trads. It doesn't matter what we're doing as long as we're sticking it against the trads. And that's not a helpful mindset either. And it sets up this same cult-like mindset where you have to walk in lockstep with the alternative or they're going to kick you out. It's not a real conversation. It's not a real community. It's not a real anything, because nobody is talking about the books. Everyone is talking about the enemy. Everyone is talking about selling stuff, making not only the publishers the enemy, but the readers the enemy. I don't freaking care. I want to talk about the books. I love my characters so much, specifically Rolf and Casey right now, because I loved them since they showed up in book 2. But I just want to talk about my characters. I want to find other people that like my characters, that want to talk about my characters, that want to talk about the stories that I've presented. And selling things is just part of getting people to read my stories and hopefully allow me to write more stories and focus my time on telling stories. But the whole thing is more about the stories. I don't care about having conversation about sales, about the publishing industry, about indie versus trad, if all that you care about is fighting the other guy and becoming the new establishment. Even just the idea of legitimately putting together some sort of alternate group that is going to act as the gatekeepers of indie publishing is against the idea of indie publishing, but it's just a way to try and shift the power from the trad to the alternative and create the exact same power structure, but with you in charge because you've been bullied. And it's not about the books. So often, this was one of the issues that I had when I brought up Eric July forever ago, when I talked about hating politics, is as a layman who was made aware of his story, since I don't follow him and I don't follow that side of politics, I was sold not his book. I don't know what his book is about. I was just sold this is somebody who is not in the industry, who is not in traditional publishing, who is taking on the wokies. I was sold his politics and his battle, not what he was actually writing, not his story, not his characters. And that's as a layman. If I have to dig further than that, if your sales pitch is fighting a fight, then that's what I'm going to see. And as a layman who is being introduced to this thing, you're not selling me on the story or the discussion of the story. And where are the discussions of the story anyway? You'll see like the stuff that I do on my channel when I'm talking about books and talking about reviews. I never need to get into the politics of the author because frankly, I don't care about the politics of the author. I can look at the story and discuss what elements of the story work or don't work within the context of the story. If you look at the Space Pirates book that I did recently, I don't need to discuss the author's politics or to know the author's politics to be like, I think that this is what influenced this thing, and it doesn't really work in the context of the story. Like, I can make that recognition within the story that it's not working, but I don't need to go after the author, and the author doesn't need to sell me the books through her politics. She just needs to tell me what the book is about, who the characters are, and get me excited to talk about the characters. And that's one of the reasons I also, even when I don't necessarily like a book, I'm excited to talk about the elements of the story and the characters and what worked or didn't work, because that is my meat and potatoes. That is what I love about reading, is dissecting the experience that I had with the book. And then having that discussion with other people. It's also why I don't necessarily mind. I'm sorry to Halo for getting you to read all 6 His Name Was Augustine books, but I am so excited to have somebody to talk to about that book because it was an experience that I clearly have not recovered from yet. Okay, so moving on, the stuff, it's not just drama in the traditional publishing. We've also got drama going on in the indie publishing thanks to a bunch of lazy people, entitled people, people that hate artists and continually drown artists with this trash. Oh, authors are spamming out Kindle books using chatgpt. I'm not calling them artists. Do not call them artists. I'm going to go ahead and say I have a problem with this headline because it's not authors. You're not an author if you use an AI to write your book. Fuck you. Like, I'm not even gonna be nice about it. Fuck you. You are a scammer. You're a lazy scammer. You hate artists if you do this. And you're burying artists with garbage that you can't even be bothered to read, to learn how to write, to spend time writing. You're a disrespectful asshole to everybody that spends time plotting, crafting, creating, editing, revising, doing all of this stuff, caring about their books. And you're just like, fuck all of that. I'm just gonna throw this shit in here that'll rip it off of other people and then try to make money off of it. You're disrespectful to the artists and you're disrespectful to the readers. Can't even be bothered to write your own fucking story and then you demand money for it. Fuck. Yes, I am hot on this. So this has happened in multiple places. We're gonna start over here. So this has happened in multiple places. First, we have, I'm not gonna go through both of these articles totally, so if you wanna read them on your own, they'll be linked in the description below, but both of these articles about ChatGPT are about the same thing going on to Amazon. But here on Reuters, we've got ChatGPT launches boom in AI written ebooks on Amazon, and I've seen people on freaking political sides of Twitter bragging about putting on the AI books, AI written covers, AI everything, and bragging about it. You are a fucking disgrace. San Francisco, I don't care what your political affiliation is. That's really not what it's about. If you use AI and then sell that garbage and thrust it on artists' spaces, burying artists and stuff that you didn't make, humans didn't make, you don't give a shit about, you're just a lazy, greedy bastard, I don't care if I hurt your feelings. Cry me a fucking river, because you don't care about my feelings either. I've seen enough of the AI bros going, fuck artists, I don't care. Recently, Brett Schickler, Never imagined that he could be a published author, though he had dreamed about it. But after learning about ChatGPT artificial intelligence program, Schickler figured an opportunity had landed in his lap. You're not a published author. You are an asshole, a lazy asshole, Brett. The idea of writing a book finally seemed possible, said Schickler, a salesman in Rochester, New York. I thought I can do this, but you didn't do it. It was an AI, bastard. I'm so pissed. I am so pissed. Using an AI software which can generate blocks of text from simple prompts, Schickler created a 30-page illustrated children's book in a matter of hours, offering it for sale in January through Amazon Inc.'s self-publishing unit. In addition, Sammy the squirrel, crudely rendered using AI, learns from his forest friends about saving money after happening upon a gold coin. He crafts an acorn-shaped piggy bank, invests in an acorn trading business, and hopes that one day he can buy an acorn. Look, you didn't even bother to try writing a children's book. You couldn't be bothered. You're like, oh, I can finally write a book. It's a 30-page children's book. Sit in the fucking chair and spend a week writing the book. You don't have any excuse, bro. Sammy becomes the wealthiest squirrel in the forest, the envy of his friends, and the forest started prospering according to the book. The wise little squirrel, a tale of savings and investment, available in Amazon Kindle for $2.99 or $9.99 per printed version, has nettled Schickler less than $100, he said. While that may not sound like much, it is enough to inspire him to compose other books using the software. I could see people making a whole career out of this, said Schickler, who uses a whole career out of stealing content and flooding the market with things that you didn't make. Oh yeah, freaking fraud has always been a career option. It's not been one that people brag about openly, but I guess things change, Schickler. But people do make whole careers out of writing books, but they spend time sitting in the chair, writing things that they actually fucking care about. Schickler is on the leading edge of a movement testing the promise and limitations of ChatGPT, which debuted in November and has sent shockwaves through Silicon Valley and beyond for its uncanny ability to create cognate blocks of text instantly. There were over 200 ebooks in Amazon's Kindle sales store as of mid-February, listing ChatGPT as an author or co-author, including How to Write and Create Content Using ChatGPT, The Power of Homework, and Poetry Collection Echoes of the Universe, and a number is rising. And those are just the books that have it listed as a co-author, not the ones that are pretending with stolen valor, for lack of better words. Due to the nature of ChatGPT and many authors' failure to disclose that they have used it, it is nearly impossible to get a full accounting of how many ebooks may be written by AI. The software emergency has already ruffled some of the biggest technology firms, prompting Alphabet and Microsoft to hastily debut new functions in Google and Bing, respective to the incorporated AI. The rapid consumer adoption of ChatGPT has squirreled frenzied quick activity in tech circles as investors pour money into AI-focused startups and given technology firms new purpose amid gloom and massive layoff. Microsoft, for one, received fawning coverage this month over its otherwise moribund Bing search engine after demonstrating an integration with ChatGPT. But already there are concerns about authority because ChatGPT learns how to write by scanning millions of pages of existing text. It steals text. Now, what I could see happening, and I think I mentioned this before when I did the video on AI generations and how that was stealing from artists, was that this is going to scrape things from books, probably from stuff that's on Kindle Unlimited, probably stuff that's on fanfic.net and from AO3 and all of these other places, LiveJournal, if it's still in existence, everywhere where there's content, it's going to be scraping stuff. And you're going to end up with books, with AI generated books that have plagiarized other books on the internet. And assuming that any of these companies put up something to look for plagiarism, the original content is going to get striked down out of the stores along with the content that the AI generator stole from. And this is going to be bigger than like Cockygate, where Cockygate was striking down everything that had cocky in every romance book that had cocky in the title and was sending cease and desists, even though she didn't have the authority to do that, and losing people money because she claimed ownership of a word trademark that she didn't have. This is going to do that, but with large segments of the content that is being stolen. Stolen. You are a thief if you do this. I do not understand how people can be like, I'm such a lazy fucking bastard. I'm just gonna type words into this thing and then call it mine and then sell it. What is wrong with you? Do you really have such little shame, like Brett over here, who is totally fine with bragging about how he put zero work into making a children's book and then selling it for $10 a pop? What is wrong with you? Threat to real authors? I hate how condescending that looks. Now ChatGPT appears ready to upend the staid book industry, as would-be novelists and self-help gurus looking to make a quick buck are turning to the software to help create bot-made ebooks and publish them through Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing. Yeah, they're all scammers. This is also just going to make even more right-to-market publishing garbage because they're not selling them as an author, and that's the only thing that you really have to set yourself apart is your authorial vision, your authorial characters, the creativity and the difference that you bring. You're selling your perspective. When you use these chat bots, these AI writing bots, whatever, your voice isn't there. You're not a person. You're just another carbon copy washboard product nobody gives a fuck about. And that's also why they don't list it as this is written by an AI. People don't want your AI written garbage. On YouTube, TikTok, and Reddit, hundreds of tutorials have sprung up demonstrating how to make a book in just a few hours. Subjects include get-rich-quick schemes, dieting advice, software coding tips, and recipes. This is something that we really need to be worried about. These books will flood the market, and lots of authors are going to be out of work. Not just out of work, buried. Because there's no way for authors that actually take the time to develop their books, there's no way for us to keep up with the trash that just floods the market. Ghostwriters writing by humans has long been a tradition, she said, but the ability to automate through AI could turn book writing from a craft into a commodity. It's already a commodity. It's not taking it from a craft because I'm still going to do art. I know other people who are still going to do it as art, but you are not creating art. You are not creating storytelling. You are creating a garbage piece of product that is the same as every other person who uses the same thing that you are doing. And you have no shame. You have no respect for the arts. Don't ever fucking talk to me about the arts if you're one of these people, because you don't have any understanding. You don't have any respect. You don't have any care. There needs to be transparency from the authors and the platforms about how these books are created, or you're going to end up with a lot of low-quality books. You're always going to end up with a lot of low-quality books. One author who goes by Frank White showed in a YouTube video how in less than a day he created a 119-page novella called Galactic Pimp Volume 1. Fucking cripes. Like, I don't hate people. I don't like you, Frank White. You're a piece of shit. This book can be had for just $1 on Amazon Kindle's ebook store. In the video, White says, anyone with a wherewithal and time to create 300 such books a year, all using AI. This just makes me so angry. Also, the way to stand out against this now is going to be to use the fresh meat feature or anything on this channel that is about, uplifting authors, uplifting people who give a shit about what they're doing, not these asshole freaks over here that are totally fine with stomping on the rest of us so they can line their pockets. They want to burn everything down. They think so little of writing that it is just a commodity. They think that storytelling is just a commodity, just a way to line your pockets. And who the fuck cares about all of the suffering that you go through, about what you have to go through to edit, to revise, to come up with a plot, to design your characters? Nobody gives a fuck that does this. Burn them down, burn them all down. Many authors, like White, feel no duty to disclose in the Kindle store that their great American novel was written wholesale by a computer because they're ashamed, because it's a sham. They know it's a sham. They know they're fraudsters. But they're selling to unexpecting people by not labeling it because they know exactly what they're doing, these sick pieces of shit. When asked for comments by Reuters, Amazon did not address whether it has plans to change or review its Kindle store policies around authors' use of AI or automated writing tools. All books in the store must adhere to our content guidelines, including by complying with intellectual property rights and all other applicable laws. So this also, as it currently hits Kindle, because it's super easy to just throw it in Kindle Unlimited, specifically because then you can get those page counts, and it's free. While it floods Kindle Unlimited, while it floods the Kindle store, don't think that this means that it's not going to hit the traditional publishing market either, that people aren't going to try to create books via AI and then submit them to agents and see what happens, because that is also likely going to happen, and who knows whether or not They will be accepted. And considering the things that I have read through traditional publishing, do not think that traditional publishing is some sort of quality check. It's not. Because there's so little in developmental edits in a lot of the newer writers that I'm reading and a lot of the contemporary books that I'm reading. Even Karen McManus was missing a lot of things in her developmental editing, a lot of repetition. I could still tell that was written by a human, though, at least. But don't think that you're going to escape this in traditional publishing. It's just hitting indie because you can get to indie faster. And this needs to stop. And it's not like we can even really create laws to stop this, because obviously people are going to be dishonest. But the way to fix this is to value the arts. It's to value what artists do and the process, even if you can't do it. It's not to value content or consumption, which is what so much of even BookTube does, is it's so much consumerism of just picking up all these books, reading them as fast as you can, or hauling and then unhauling books as fast as you can, even without reading them, without understanding what the value of storytelling is, what the value of art is. And it all started with the AI generated art a couple of months ago, when people were just shitting on artists that spend so much time learning the skill to draw, learning the skill to visualize, to create what they visualize, and to deal with where it doesn't meet what they expected to get in their head, and the time that it takes, and the work that it takes, and the suffering that it takes to be able to make that physical art. We've got a situation where people do not respect human life, do not respect human labor, do not respect humility, do not respect each other, do not have any idea of value. And so everything is meaningless. It's complete, nihilism's not the word, but it's a complete sappery of the value on anything. And for me, that's a corrupt soul. It's a broken soul. It's a rotted soul. Read Bleed More, Body More, to find out more. It's a rotted soul that sees absolutely no value in anything but itself. It is insanity. It is disgusting. And I cannot believe how many people think that this is okay. Also, not just that, as I was just saying, publishers are going to also suffer. Sci-fi publisher Clark's World halts pitch amid deluge of AI-generated stories. So this is going to hit the short stories, the anthologies, the collections. It's going to hit everything that it possibly can from these people that are so shallow. They want to call themselves artists, authors, whatever, without doing the job, without caring about the craft, learning the craft, watering it down so they can make money, make a name, have accolades for things they didn't make. You are Keaton from the Fountainhead. You don't make your own stuff. You're a sham. We need to bring back public shaming of this shit, because these people should not feel comfortable doing this, and they need to be blacklisted as soon as you know that they do this. But you got people bragging about it because they know they're going to get away with it, because they know that they can race to make money right now and fuck the consequences. They don't care about tomorrow. They don't care about a year from now. They don't care about you or stories in 30 years or fucking anything. They just care about lining their pockets today at the expense of everyone else. Fuck you. Founding editor of Sci-Fi Publishers says 500 pitches rejected this month and their authors banned as influencers promote get-rich-quick schemes. It's disgusting. And I don't know what else to say, but keep calling it disgusting. You're disgusting if this is you. Personally, I'm never going to give up writing until the day that I die, because it's part of who I am. And the characters that I create and the stories that I have to tell are important to me, and they're important for me to tell others. Joey's story is important. The story between Gavin, Anna, and Kelly is important. All of the characters in Dead End Drive are important. Jan's story is important. Blake and Jan are important. What they are together is important. The point of view that I have, my authorial voice, the insanity, the absurdity of the way that I write, the distortion, the magical realism, the crossover of the magic and mystical and the real world, the things that I do, the way that I portray life and characters, it is important to me to show others the world as I see it. And it's not something that an AI generator can do. And it's not something that any of these people care about either. It's the difference between an artist and a producer, a machine. And I'll never stop because I can't. Because I don't want to. Because the characters that talk through me have stories to tell, things to say that are too important to be overwritten or forgotten, because they're being buried by garbage. That's what this shit wants. It wants to demotivate you. But if you're an author, if you're a creator of any kind, if you're a visual artist, your skill set is more important than you know. You're creating humanity. You're telling stories. You're showing human emotion through the things that you make that cannot ever be repeated. And this garbage and these garbage people are burying the humanity that you are creating and sharing. And I want to offer encouragement to never give up. It's a struggle. Writing is genuinely a struggle, which is why all of these people are such garbage. It's why all of these garbage people are skipping the process of creation so that they can try and get the accolades without the struggle. It hurts. I've been reworking Bodymore 3 with the difference between Casey's and Ralph's relationship and how they fit together. And I've had to completely rewrite scenes because Casey's got his own reasons for everything that he's doing, and he doesn't give a crap about the main character of Bodymore because she really doesn't matter in his grand scheme of things. And that changes scenes and is painful to rewrite scenes because it's difficult. And I have to relogic things, and I have to follow through characters, and I have to go, well, how is this going to work now that he's done this? And this character needs to say this, and can I keep that? Do I not keep that? I have to figure all of this crap out. It's fitting puzzle pieces together and finding that you've stuck pieces in the wrong place because they fit in multiple places, but now that you've got a better picture, you're seeing that they don't fit. It's hard work, but it's worth it. For what you are doing is not replaceable. You're one of a kind. Your point of view is one of a kind. Your stories are one of a kind. Your characters are one of a kind. You are the only one that can tell the stories that you have. You're the only one that can make the pictures that you have, that you can't. You're the only one that can make the visual art that you have. You're the only one that can share that vision, share those emotions, share the visuals, share the meaning that you have and know and are so driven to do because you are an artist. Don't let these people that are greedy, that are lazy, that are genuinely pieces of shit convince you otherwise. The struggle is worth it because finding what you're saying, what you want to say, is a worthy endeavor. Unless you're lace and leather or creating some kind of just blatantly garbage erotica, then no, you need to stop. You need to be held accountable. Nobody needs that in the world. But you still have the right to do it. As critical as I am, you still have the right to do it, and I still have the right to be like, if I had to choose between reading a freaking lace and leather erotica or AI generated stories, I would have to say I'd suffer through lace and leather because at least I'm getting to know a person or people and their perspective and how they work. And it's not just this garbage that lacks humanity, that sees no value in anything. So now that I'm repeating myself, that is all for today. Those are my thoughts on these articles that will all be linked down in the description below if you would like to check them out for yourself. I would love to know your thoughts on the Roald Dahl thing. We've gone so far. The publishing industry, the cult of the publishing industry, even talk about the cult behind the traditional publishing industry and the cult behind the indie publishing industry, because that is there too. And then all of this ChatGPT trash. Looking forward to your thoughts on any or all of the stories from today. With that said, thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and don't die.
Was that Wayland Cross in the trunk? Do you know, or is that something that's still being figured out?
The person in the trunk was not Wayland Cross. Is he in trouble? We don't know who did it, but as the owner of the car, the longer he's missing, the worse it looks for him.
Cross isn't a killer.
For the last couple of years, the average number of murders in Baltimore has been over 300, and it's been going up. Mind you, that's only whatever the badges count as official murder, and believe me, there are people that don't count when they die.
Wayland? If you're down here, tell me. I'm not talking to the badges, I've been looking for you. They found a body in your trunk. Why? Did you do that?
To the left, plain black letters read along the wall,
You walked in the corridor.
once that ends, you chose the dark is on the right.
My vision goes blurry, flickers black and black for longer intervals until I can't see anything at all. I'm not screaming anymore, but my voice echoes back to me. Where the hell am I? You're dead, Josephine.
Even smart people do stupid shit sometimes, right?